learning professional with over 14 years of experience. Again, passionate about employee development, an ardent reader and a doting mother to a 7-year-old. Sandhya is a part of Hacking HR Delhi chapter, and thanks everyone for taking out time to join us at this initiative for Hacking HR. Thank you so much, and over to you, Sandhya and Anshuman, to take the session ahead for today.
Thank you, Jayati, and thank you everyone for attending this session. Anshuman, as you have a lot of experience in employer branding and creating an EVP, what the the question is that how to create an employer brand when one does not have it. Like companies, startups, mid-sized organization who feel that they do not have a lot of competitive advantage over bigger organization. They're not hiring many people. So how to start with this approach? Also, how one can leverage those low-hanging fruits. How one can leverage for ourselves as well as for our organization.
Sure. First, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and talk to you, all of us. And it is like deja vu. I know Jayati from my Infosys days, so it was very nice to reconnect after a long time. So, the way I look at employer brand and the opportunity for companies, I feel like a lot of us, when we are looking at companies, we are only kind of able to understand what we see, what we hear, especially from folks that we care about or we really believe. Otherwise, it's just about companies trying to advertise themselves. So I think we have to go after more believable content, right? More believable impressions. And how do you do that, right? Whether you are a company that is a global multinational company or you're hiring in thousands of numbers, I think what differentiates you is, how the stakeholders that you connect with, how do they look at you? Do they trust you? Or do they just look at you as an employer or as a company that's trying to sell products? So I think the foundation for me, for employer brand, is trust, right? And so I think whatever we do through our employer brand approach, if the trust is missing or it is not there, I don't think any company can do something which can be scaled. You can do something right the first time, but then people look at you whether you are able to sustain it, whether you are able to scale it, whether you can create the same belief system, not just in a small set of folks, but at a larger set of audience. So to me, I think employer brand doesn't depend on the company's ability to reach out, advertise at scale. It's about do you really understand what's the pain point of the various stakeholders that you serve, and how well can you create that trust between each other so that they don't just believe in the company, but they become ambassadors of the company. And that is the level of empowerment that you need to create amongst your stakeholders, so they don't even trust the company, they also go and talk about the company. And that is what we really want when we look at employer brand storytelling. So I think what I'll do also is maybe share the Intuit case study, right? And I think all of us here are together today. And so I thought instead of just me talking about the concept, let me also talk about the story that, at least we were able to create with our employees over time. And then I'll take maybe questions towards the end. Is that?
Yeah, so maybe what we can do, Anshuman, is to the attendees who are on right now, if you all have questions, keep putting it onto the chat window. And then we'll pick it up as we proceed along. So Anshuman, over to you to start, and then we'll interrupt you in case there's something pressing that comes up.
Sounds good. So let me share the presentation. And I hope that all of you can see the presentation. Jayati, could you confirm?
Yes,
awesome.
Yes.
Sorry. So, this is a story that probably is very personal to me. Having worked in larger organizations myself, especially that are very well known in India, when I was looking at making the switch to Intuit, I myself had a lot of questions. what is this company all about? We don't hear about this company a lot in Indian context. So what are the plans for this company, and how is it perceived amongst the stakeholder? And so it was very important for me to also understand who the company is, what they do, and what their vision, belief systems are before I joined personally this company. And that actually helped me get into this journey of how we can create a culture as a differentiator for a company that may not have the scale, that may not be a household brand, and that may not be hiring in huge numbers as we see in companies, especially in India. So that's the whole premise of the story. And so when I look at the whole journey, it all starts with the paradox of choice, right? Today you have so many companies who are trying to compete for the same top talent. There are so many different platforms that are trying to get your attention, whether it is on social media or on different channels, right? I mean, if you just look at the opportunities you have from an entertainment perspective, it is huge. And so there are some times that I myself have switched on the computer or the television, and I'm like, what information should I go after? Which channel should I actually switch on to? And this is something that we live with every day. And it's the same for our employees or prospective hires, right? When they are looking at making a choice, they have so many companies in front of them. And so, how do they actually make the choice of which company is right for them? And I think that is where employer brand, or how you are perceived, not just internally by your employees, but also externally, is so important to create that particular distinctive impression in the minds of the audience that they believe in you and they want to be part of this, organization or the story. And coming back to my own journey with Intuit, when I joined, one of the phrases that I used to hear a lot was like, Intuit is Silicon Valley's best kept secret. But if you are a marketer, being the best kept secret is not a great business strategy, right? You want your brand to be known to the different stakeholder groups. You want people to talk about you, and not just as like, there is something great about this company that keeps it going, but we don't hear about it much. And so that was the biggest challenge I at least joined this company with, of how do I make this company so notable in the minds and impressions of top talent here in India. And so that's where we started. And as I said, right, I mean, Intuit in India is still around 1,000 plus strong from an employee perspective. And when you look at the other companies at scale, we are not there yet in terms of employee numbers, in terms of hiring numbers, or even having a huge product presence in India. And so when you are somebody who is playing maybe in a niche kind of a segment where people who know you definitely understand who you are, but others have to really kind of find a way to connect with this company. And that is when we actually came up with this hypothesis, where we felt, could our culture be our biggest differentiator? Could we build trust in our stakeholders through the unique Intuit culture? And we have been around since 1983 as a very well-respected company, which kind of not just believes in innovation, but has scaled innovation over time through different eras of transformation. And we wanted to kind of go after that narrative through the eyes of our own employees, and that was one of the huge hypothesis with which we started the journey. And this is one quote from Maya Angelou, which is very close to my heart. When you still are thinking about helping people understand who you are, you have to actually get closer to your audience and make sure that they understand you and they can experience what you have to offer. And so it's very, very apt that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that was our job, right? To make sure that our employees feel the culture of Intuit, the culture that really kind of connects with them and brings them closer to each other and to the company. And so this was probably the foundation, based on which we built this journey of trust creation and ambassadorship creation over time. And so, the most important aspect for any kind of journey of understanding the themes, the insights, is to go and talk to your employees, right, or to your stakeholder. And we also did the same. And we felt like, most of the employees who have experienced our culture are believer in our brand and who we are, and they want to be the storyteller. So that was another opportunity for us to kind of, like, people who have already connected with us from a culture perspective, how can we make them amplifiers of our brand and culture? So that was the other challenge with which we started. And I just want to share a few examples, right? I mean, last year we all went into this sudden remote working mode, or virtual working mode. And we were all caught unawares, right? Almost in no time we heard this lockdown coming into everyone, and we were suddenly all sitting at homes. And the problem with that is, people are used to a way of life, a way of connecting with each other, and when they don't see that connect, it creates a sense of anxiety. And again, we went back to our employees, our ambassadors. In fact, this particular example that I've shared, was almost just a few days into the virtual working that we went into. And our employees came up with creative ideas with which they started connecting with each other, even virtually. There was a 21-day challenge. I think the first lockdown was around 21 days. So, there was a 21-day challenge they started with. And this is not just recent, right? I mean, we've always looked at how can we go after those compelling employee experiences where people get close to our culture, whether it is, even celebrating their 5-year milestones, or just a casual employee connect. These may feel like, regular way of connecting with your employees, but, the people who actually go through it and the way you want to run it creates, bonds of trust, bonds of belief system. And so I feel like it's very important for us to continue to create unique employee experiences where people can actually come close to each other and connect with each other. So Jayati, I see someone has raised their hand. Do you want me to pause and take a question?
In fact, there have been a few questions as well. So maybe Sandhya, why don't you
Yes.
take a couple of questions that are.
So one of the questions which is participant asked, startups generally position themselves with the series and value of funding they get for their organization to attract talent. How can business founders of startups build their meaningful employer branding of and EVP?
Yeah, so irrespective of whether you are a startup or you are an established company, I think the foundation of the employer brand story, as I said, is around trust, right? I mean, there is a huge opportunity ahead that you as a founder know. You have raised funds, based on a promise that you have made to the stakeholder, a vision that you have of scaling your offerings. But have you connected the same promise and experience with the people that are around you, and how are they talking about that particular vision in their own networks? And I think the thing that I would definitely want to focus here is we really undervalue the opportunity we all have based on the networks that we are all part of, right? Whether you are a company that is 100 people or even 10 to 50 people, right? Each one of you in that particular company, if they can amplify the vision, the brand story, the future story that you have, it will have the multiplier effect. Most likely, people are actually looking at folks in HR organization or communications organization as, hey, can you come up with an idea or can you come up with a campaign to build our brand story? That's not the right approach. They are there to kind of create creative manifestations of the story, or come up with unique ideas in which it can be done at scale. But I think each and every person in the company has a role to play in really creating a distinctive brand story. And I think that's something that we undervalue a lot. So if you are a startup that is looking at scaling and is also looking at attracting talent, you have to really go after your own internal employees first, right? Make each one of them believers of your story and let them go and amplify it through their own networks. And you'll be surprised what you will, be able to get.
Okay. There's another question which we have received. How do we create brands differently for startups versus established companies?
Yeah, I think, see, when you are a startup, you actually have a disadvantage and you also have an advantage, right? I mean, you are not being judged by what you have done in the past. You are not being looked at as a company which has already done something, and whether it has been able to scale or not. So you start with a clean slate, and so you have to actually go and create the story. So I think the narrative is in front of you and in your total control. And so I think that sometimes when you are starting afresh, you have a huge advantage because you are not carrying legacy, and legacy can be good, or legacy can be also daunting sometimes. So I feel like if you are a new company with a new value proposition, not just from an employee perspective, but also from a market perspective or a product promise, I think you have a huge opportunity to build something right from the scratch. And you should focus on that. We all have a culture. All companies, small or big, have a culture. You need to make sure that your culture resonates with your, vision as a company, and also your mission, why you exist as a company. And then how do you articulate that with all the stakeholders, including your employees? That's, I think, the most important. Because unless your employees believe in your culture, your story, you will never be able to create something that looks great externally, but your own employees don't believe in it. That actually is more detrimental than not having a huge external kind of an employer brand. Because if your own stakeholders, if your own employees do not believe in what you are saying externally, they are actually going to be net distractors, and not promoters. So I think that's another word of caution there for companies who are trying to go and tell a story which does not connect back with its own employees and stakeholder groups.
So I just had another question that came up privately. So that was more around if you could pick up real life examples, and I don't know if it's there in your presentation throughout, where you can actually talk about a few real cases that you've seen or done or worked upon.
Yeah, sure. So I'll maybe tell you, the example with the introduction to the next slide. And this is basically the, in my view, there are various milestones that you have to cross to be able to create your distinctive employer brand story. And it starts with, being able to go to your employees and look into their eyes and say, hey, this is who we are, and this is what we believe in, and this is what we will always do, not just at one particular point of time. And that is the promise that you make to your employees. And based on your promise, your employees actually become believers of your culture and your brand and your story. And so, I want to talk about this in the light of one program that we had at Intuit. And this is very close to my heart because this was one of my first experiences when I joined Intuit. I saw about our culture. And when I joined, we were probably 500 people company, much smaller. But, there was something different about the way we used to do things. Every companies have their own way of celebrating employee milestones, right? Whether it is a service anniversary or some other, milestone from an employee perspective. And, at Intuit at that time, for every 5-year celebration, and we had few because we were very early in our journey in India, we had a small celebration. And that was so unique because our India leader would actually go to that particular employee, their cubicle, their desk, and everyone else will come together, of his or her team, and then we'll just talk about the employee's journey of 5 years. What was the first project that this person actually started the company with? What were the various challenges that he or she felt, and how did they actually conquer it? And also, how did they expand the team, their scope, their influence? And that was such an amazing moment, and you could see the light in the eyes of that employee, feeling the the warmth of this company, which is actually the head of the company is coming and talking about you and reflecting on your own journey in the company and your own personal journey, through those 5 years. And it was such a unique experience that I felt like, it created a real connect for not just the employee, but also all the folks who were around that person, that this company is really caring. The leader here, who's, probably got 100 other things to do, makes time to come for these 5-year celebration, and then, unique celebration and bringing people together. And I felt like, hey, this is an amazing story. But again, when we look at it from a communication perspective, how do you scale it? How do you tell that story externally? Because that was another thing that was in my mind, like, how do I go and tell the story externally? And so we invested in certain areas, especially on social, right? So we used to take examples like these and put it out on social, and that's how we started our social journey for Intuit. And today, Intuit India's social handles are one of the most engaged social handles amongst our peers. And the reason for that is because we started it with something that was so critical to us, which differentiated us, and which was so real to us. And the moment I used to, push it out on social, people who are not able to come to that particular, ceremony or that particular celebration would be the first ones to go and talk about, the person. And then there'll be like hundreds of likes and hundreds of comments. And this was like, happening at scale. And because we used to tag that particular employee, their own network will get to know about it, and, they'll share stories. And that is the way you want to amplify the voice, right? And so, there is a unique story, but also how do you scale it? How do you create an opportunity for people to actually expand and amplify that story, through their own lens? So I think that is one example that comes to mind, Jayati. And I can, take other questions, or I can continue the session and take the questions towards the end.
So we have one question here: how employer branding needs to respond in today's environment?
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, today, with the present context of largely virtual environment, I think the need for everyone to be heard, for everyone to be present, is even more, right? And that is, paramount, because everyone wants to feel the same connect. You could just go to each other's offices and say hello, and that's not possible today, right? Because of the environment that we are living in. So I think what you have to look at is create very unique opportunities for people to come together. And in my view, you cannot do it all by yourself. When I say by yourself, it is about the company trying to do everything through folks in HR organization, folks in communication organization, etc. You have to actually lean in and let our own employees come up with unique ideas of engaging with each other. So just to give an example, right, we have our own employee networks in the company, and we have empowered them to come up with unique ideas, and we support them by providing any budgetary support, anything else that they need to organize these events. It could be like the next generation network that we have, where most of the early career hires, kind of are part of. They will organize, these unique kind of sometimes a quizathon, and somebody else will be organizing another event of maybe playing a musical instrument. And so I think you have to actually let go. And I think giving up control is something that does not come easily to us. And so there is actually this inertia that we as companies have of letting people in. I think the moment you kind of let go and ask people for help, you will see that the offerings and the ideas, the insights that people will bring will probably much more valuable than what a few people in a few teams can actually come up with.
Okay. So I think we should continue with the rest of the presentation now.
Perfect. I think these questions are making my job easier because I don't have to reinforce many things, later. So as I said, right, I think once you have created experiences that people become the believer of your brand, they are ready. They are ready to tell your story externally, and then they sometimes don't know how to go and tell the story. Right? You may have your employees that are super highly engaged, but you have to create a platform for them to go and tell that story. And that is our job, right? As communication professionals, as HR organization, or talent marketing folks, we have to create platforms where people can actually go and safely share their experiences. And I think that's very, very critical, because if you're not able to leverage technology, if you're not able to go after the right channels through which you will amplify your employee's voice, all the great work that you do will stay internal, and it will not go external, and it will not create that aura of the brand that you want to be built, especially when you are looking at attracting top tech talent or top talent. And so, this was, an example that I already talked about, right? But I'll tell you another insight, that was so unique about this strategy of investing in our social channels. The other example that I picked, earlier was around, these 5-year celebrations and, putting it out on social. The insight that I had, when I saw the behavior on social, was some of the folks who were very, very quiet in that conversation, in the office environment, were sometimes very vocal in the online environment. And that actually was very, very intriguing. And I saw that, happen over time. And it was almost like you are giving them a way of expression in a channel that they are more comfortable. Maybe they were not very comfortable in raising their, voice or sharing their experience in that small environment, for different reasons. But they were very comfortable going and telling the story online in a social channel. So I think, there are various facets of employee behavior that actually you'll experience when you start experimenting with these ideas, right? And so our whole emphasis on digital and social strategy was, to give employees a platform where they feel comfortable, sharing their story. And sometimes, in fact, we saw that some of the employees who were not very vocal internally were very vocal, in these social platforms. So that was another added advantage, and we kind of built on that particular insight over time. And this is, exactly what we did, right? I mean, one of the first employer brand campaign that we did for Intuit in India was the I Am Intuit campaign. And what was unique about it, right? The whole campaign was actually around creating employees the face of Intuit, right? So every campaign hoarding, every campaign creative had an employee in it. The other thing that we also did to take it to the next level based on the insight was, when we started sharing these creatives, we actually did not share it through the Intuit handle first. We let the employee share these creatives through their handles first. And that was so empowering, because, all these employees who were used to, like, hey, let it come first on the Intuit handle and then I will share and amplify, or they will tag me, now actually had the ownership of that brand campaign. So we helped them in whatever way they wanted. And after some time, they were like, I know what to do. And they started launching employer brand campaigns for Intuit through their own social handles. And that made this whole experience so valued for them, because they felt that they are in charge. They own the brand experience. They are actually creator of this employer brand campaign, and they were so vocal about it, and they were so kind of comfortable sharing this narrative, because it was completely dependent on them, and we'll further amplify it once they share it. So I think, how do you create this culture of trust, ownership, empowerment, and then scale it through different offerings and techniques, is something that we definitely need to own, because that makes the employee's job very easy. It's like so simple that they can just take this and share it with ownership, and also with complete confidence that they are not doing something which will create something which is not wanted, or will tarnish the brand, etc., because we were always there with them in that journey. And so I think this probably is more kind of the culmination of the employer brand journey for us, right? You start with the employee experience that makes employees believe in the culture, right? And then they become engaged employees, and that's so important, right? And then once you have an engaged employee, you have to provide them platforms to amplify that particular experience. And so whether you use social, or you use different channels through which you will amplify it internally, externally, you have to own that. And once you create that channel or a platform, your employees start owning that experience for the brand externally. And then the final level of, I would say, empowerment is when you actually give up control, which I talked about, letting go, believing that your employees, because you have taken them through this journey of engaged employees to employee ambassadors and social, to be true ambassadors and change catalysts, who will actually come up with unique ideas and ways in which they will express and even further magnify and maybe co-create your culture and brand story. And I think that was the last level of empowerment that we saw when we created the Great Place to Work ambassadors program. And it was featured as Jayati earlier mentioned in Harvard Business Review. And this whole story was around, can you actually make your employees change agents who are actually going and reshaping your employee practices, your employee culture? And it can happen. And then can you scale it, right? We started with a small experiment, and over time, now we have consistently done it. And in fact, if I look at our own journey of being in the Great Place to Work, and this year we became #1 best company to work for again in India. I think the whole, I would say, theme of employee ownership, employees believing in our brand and being the catalyst for us has really helped us reach here. We would not have been the #1 company if our employees had not really taken the lead in going out and telling our story and being the change agents. In fact, they have shared so many ideas with us, based on which we have changed certain employee practices or workplace practices based on those insights. And that makes it a very partnership driven approach. So I'll maybe just share one or two other insights, and all of us sitting here, we love this whole story, but is it real, and is it also going to give us an edge when it looks comes to attracting top talent? And I'm just sharing this is like just a week earlier we received this brand survey report for this year, for Intuit's consideration. And we actually look at consideration as a way of if somebody is looking for a job, especially in the top tech talent space, would they consider Intuit as a company? And we started our journey with 1% in FY17, and today we are sitting at over 27%. And this whole approach of making employees partners in your storytelling and amplifying the stories through their networks is actually helping us build and scale over time. And I'm so heartened to see not just the results from this survey perspective, but also the way your employees actually talk about the company as if it is their own company. And I think that's more heartening than even seeing this score. So I want to just maybe summarize the whole session, and then we'll take more questions. I think the whole journey of employer brand, as based on my experience, is all built on the foundation of trust, and that is paramount, right? You start with a low trust kind of a stage where you need to really build deep empathy to understand what are the pain points, right? Why employees are not going and telling your story, what are the challenges. Maybe they are not comfortable, they don't know what to say, they don't know whether it will be appreciated by the company or not appreciated by the company, or they will be flagged for saying something in a public forum that they should not have. So I think there has to be a empathy that you need to create to understand what is actually guiding that particular behavior, whether it is positive or negative or neutral. And so once you have an understanding of that particular behavior, you actually start with a low trust environment, and then you look at how do I now take that insight that I've learned and then convert it into an opportunity or something that you want to work on, right? And most of the times it's actually by sitting with the stakeholders, by sitting with your employees together, bringing them in, you understand the pain points, and then you build a particular idea or a particular program or a story. And that is the whole value of partnership, that kicks in, right? You don't want to do everything yourself. You want your stakeholders to be part of that narrative or the story. And then you kind of amplify it with that partnership. You take it to the next level where you are actually leveraging the power of many, creating evangelists and storytellers that can go out and really kind of transform the way your brand, especially from an employer brand perspective, is looked at not just internally but also externally, and not just from a current employee but also from a future employee perspective. So I'll just pause with this slide, and then maybe over to the team to see what questions we have had. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, or directly through emails also. Happy to stay connected and learn more from each other.
Thank you, Anshuman. So one question which we have is that, who do you think it is the primary responsibility within an organization to create an employer brand? Is it the leadership responsibility? Is it HR, or is it a marketing responsibility? Whose primary responsibility?
Yeah, I think that there is no one team that can take the ownership of your employer brand strategy or story. I think you have to come together. Largely, I think it rests with HR, with communication. Your leaders are definitely sponsors. But I think to any organization, and if, for your company, if the expectation is that you are supposed to lead that particular effort, I think you have to create then a way for people to come in. Right. I mean, so it does not matter whether your company believes that HR should be the owners of employer brand. It is great, or it is communication or whatever. I think it is great that you have the trust of the company to lead the employer brand story. But what you have as a responsibility is to create an environment or a culture or a mechanism with which others can come in. Right. I think most of the time what we do is, we feel like, hey, we are supposed to come up with the idea. We are supposed to come up with the execution. It's not really the case. And so I think we have to challenge ourselves to think differently, right? And create new ways of letting people in. And I think that is, once we are able to go after that, it will be very easy for us to kind of, get people in. Employees, you will be surprised when you go and ask them to be part of some of these. We were surprised ourselves. And so I think it's the onus is on us to create that environment.
Anshuman, there's a question which came up saying, how do you measure the success of EVP? So one was a consideration, where your new joiners could consider, but Are there other ways to measure if your, EVP or employer branding initiatives have been successful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think various ways, right? The most important one, and all of us are aware of, is our employee surveys, right? I mean, we all dread the employee surveys, or we love the employee surveys. So, if your employee engagement scores are, going down, then you have to understand why. And if it is going up, you have to also understand why, right? So I think, one of the very simple ways is to measure your employee engagement. And unless your employees are engaged, you will never be able to go and ask them to become ambassadors. So I think first is to fix your house, and then go and talk about it externally. And one of the quotes from my marketing days, that I still don't forget, is advertising cannot sell a bad product twice, right? So first the product has to be right, and then you have to go and advertise. So I think let's go and fix things if they are not fixed. If the culture is not being manifested in the right way, if the employee experiences are not telling the story, then you have to actually drop those employee experience programs and say, hey, it doesn't get me anything. Let me focus on a few things that will help us build our culture and the story, and not do 100 things, but let's do only 5 things. So I think first let's get the house in order, and focus on the engagement, and that's a very very leading, I would say, indicator of your employer brand. And there are other ways, right? And even if you're tracking on social, how many employees are actually going and talking in social about your brand? How many people are actually engaging and contributing stories when you ask them to, about the employee culture or any other, forum? How many people are, going out and talking in various forums about the company? I think all these are indicators of how your employer brand, or your, the whole culture of trust is working or not.
So there is another question which we have. In these tough times when salaries are not paid in full and no increments are coming through, how to still make employees as a brand ambassador whose main pain point is money right now?
Yeah, I think, see, I mean, people join the company for a particular job, for a particular compensation, but they are staying in the company for something different. I mean, if you look at it, most of us here, sitting in various companies today, can get a job outside with maybe an increase in salary or even designation. But we are not going and changing jobs every other year or every other month, right? There is something that is actually keeping us here. And it could not be just one isolated incident of, like, this year we didn't have a promotion or a compensation review, so we will not. You have to look at holistically, what else has the company done? Why has the company done what it has done? And have you as a company gone and told that story? Or you have just sent an email saying, hey, this year we'll have no compensation review? But have you gone and shared the reason why? Because maybe we are investing in accelerating the growth for this company. Maybe we are investing in creating competitive differentiation so we can last, right, over time. And so I think, what is that story that you have based your decision on? And are you truthful about it with your own stakeholders internally, which is your employee? If you have not told that story, employees have all the right to not trust you. But if you have told the story, if you have shared it, with everyone, and then you kind of ask for, ideas, or you ask for, them to accept it and, be part of it, it'll be a different story, right? So I think the most important thing is to be truthful, and don't shy away from sharing. Everyone is actually, intellectual, and they can understand the reason. I mean, they may actually, disagree for some time, but over time, when you kind of talk to them with reason, with the belief, and then they start seeing it in action, they will start believing it.
Thank you. Another question which we have is, what do we in talent and talent acquisition need to do right now with our communication across social media, websites, and advertising? How can we be the best employers and brands in such a time?
Yeah. So the thing is, again, right? I mean, the most of the places that I speak with people, especially in the talent space, they all feel that this whole responsibility of telling the story, of differentiating the company is resting with them. I think that we have to change our own belief systems, right? We have to believe that maybe we sometimes don't know the right approach. Maybe we need help. And so I think, how can we make this whole process a little more open, right? Where we are saying that, hey, we understand that there is a challenge, right? And then talk to your employees. What are the channels of information that they go to, right? Are we advertising, or are we going and talking in the right channels? Or are we just, following a set of principles that we had created 10 years back, and based on which we are still kind of going to the same set of channels and talking to the same set of audience who probably is has kind of moved on, right? So I think continuously refreshing your approach, like in this virtual environment, what are the information sources for top talent? Have we gone and understood that, or are we still kind of following the traditional, hey, last year it worked, last to last year it worked for us, so we'll still pump in the money that we have for advertising and for promotion in the same channel, and maybe there is nobody sitting there right now absorbing that content. So I feel like, one is to continuously refresh your approach and understand, how the shifts are happening in behaviors from a talent perspective. And then second is kind of opening up, your approach, letting people in, especially your employees, to give you ideas, have some conversations with them, and they will give you 10 ideas in just one conversation. You have to, like, take the top one or two that we will be going after. But have you gone and talked to the folks? So I think it's not like, we know what will work. Every company is unique. Every company's talent or audience is unique, and your employees are the best source of information for you to kind of help you differentiate yourself, or to be present in a forum that they go to, or people like them go to.
Yeah, very true. So we have Saloni Dagli who has asked a question: will letting people in for ideas create chaos? Like they say, too many cooks spoil the broth, also leaving some people with the feeling their idea was not either considered or implemented, as all ideas may not be feasible. Also, can this lead to negative spiral? How to handle kind of this?
Yeah, see, the thing with us is, and Saloni, this is like one of our biggest fear when we started this whole employee network. And, maybe I'll take 2 minutes to tell you the background to it. We used to feature in the top 10 companies, like, for a lot of years. And we would never kind of go to the top one or two. And we were wondering why, right? We'll be number seven, sometimes number eight, sometimes number 10. And, in one of the town halls, when we were sharing the Great Place to Work rank, one of the employees said, hey, we feel like, Intuit is like the best company. But why are we not number one? And we didn't have the answer, right? I mean, we don't know. And so we said, okay, maybe we should ask our employees, let them get in the kitchen. To Saloni's point of, how can we get so many people in the kitchen, and how will it spoil? So they were like, okay, we sent an email to the entire employee audience, and said, hey, if you have ideas, we would like to organize efforts, and let us know. And at that time, we had like around 600 people. 100 people signed up with one email. And we were like surprised, like 100 out of 600 people signing up for this particular, like, come up with ideas that will help us, be the best we can be. And that was so surprising. And now that you have 100 people, how do you organize efforts, to the point, like, so many people coming in with ideas. And then if you have to take one versus others, the others will be like, my idea is not taken, why? And so we said, we can't take all this, right, ownership. So we said, we will ask our employees, the 100 folks that have raised their hand, to self nominate themselves to create a small core team. And then maybe identify 2 or 3 leaders who will actually lead that whole effort. And so we completely, we were just organizers and facilitators. This is we is HR and communication. We said we don't want to get into trouble, with 100 people coming and giving us new ideas. We said, you self-organize. We will create the opportunity, but you self-organize. So they created an 8-member core team. They elected 2, co-leads. And then, everything happened because, employees can talk to employees the way they want to, because there is no employer-employee conversation happening there, right? So you create a trust environment, and then they feel like, okay, for this reason, these guys have selected these 2 ideas. So we said that we will only organize efforts. We will not be saying do this or don't do this. So I feel like the overall learning, right? And Soloni, to your point, is to, when you create this kind of an approach, you have to actually make sure that you live up to it. Don't create this approach of having a democratic setup and then you are deciding what to do. Then it is not democratic, right? So you have to create a very democratic setup and live up to that particular expectation. So you have to let it be the way it can be run best, versus no, this will be reviewed by HR and then it will be approved by X leader and then it will be going for review. This is not how it works. So it has to be self-run, and there are some guiding principles that we need to set based on which these ideas will be taken forward.
Yeah, very true. So another question which we have is that at times there are bad moments in situations, and employee do post bad feedback and reviews on Glassdoor or LinkedIn. How to handle these kind of situations or those bad reviews?
Yeah, everyone has the right to share, their feeling and sentiment, right? The most important thing is to kind of take the learning out of it, right? So don't, isolate yourself from such feedback. You actually want that feedback because you can actually do something about it. And in all our employee survey, all of us, our leaders, we actually read each and every employee comment, because those are the comments that are so valuable, because they are all, people have experienced it. And you can't say that this person is very negative because this person is giving negative feedback. You have to bring them in the kitchen, right? I know they may have resentment for a particular experience, but is that experience the only experience that is happening in the company, or was it a one-off experience? So go after that one-off and change it. But if that is an experience that is coming out as a theme across various forums, then you must do something about it. And so I feel like the moment you get such negative feedback, and that too as a theme, you have to publish it, and you have to then say what action are you going to take to kind of change that particular perception or change that particular experience. So I think the most important thing is to be available to kind of get such inputs. And sometimes employees share it internally, sometimes employees share it externally, but don't just kind of shy away from that. Take it in, and then if you start seeing it as a theme, then you definitely need to work on it. And then you pick it up and then you publish it, like here is what we are hearing and here is what we are doing about it. So I think that builds the trust.
Yeah.
I think we have time for only one question, and then we would run out of time. But Sandhya, the last question.
Yes. So the last question which we have is, what are those top 3-4 action items you suggest to create an effective employer brand?
Yeah, the most important one, I think, is to find what differentiates you as a company, right? I think that's very, very important. And as I said, every company has a culture, and it's a unique culture, and every company has a value system. Somebody will say innovation is important, somebody will say trust is important, somebody will say camaraderie is important. I think that is what you need to kind of go after, like what is our soul as a company, right? Who we are. Like maybe there are certain companies that are on a very fast trajectory. For them, growth and acceleration is most important. For a company that is just kind of setting up, for them, setting the foundation right is important. So it also depends on the journey you are in, right? And based on that, you create a set of values and a set of beliefs that your employees need to have so that they can participate in that journey. So I think first is to understand who you are as a company, and then once you have a good understanding of it, your culture, then how are you manifesting that culture to your employees? Like if you are a company that believes in agility, how are you creating experiences where people are able to see that agility in action, right? Because just saying that, hey, we are going to grow at 10x speed, and then employees don't see anything happening at speed, and they'll get frustrated. They'll say this is just like an eye wash, right? So create experiences that connect the employees with the culture that or the belief system that you have built, right? And once you have that connect, then employees believe in your culture. Once they believe in your culture, then they can go and talk about, like, hey, I work in this company, and the first week I was able to get my code live in the production environment. That is what you want to hear, right? Versus, I there like 3 weeks, I'm been sitting in onboarding. Fourth week, somebody is coming and talking to me. Fifth week, I'm assigned to another team. Sixth week, my manager is not there. So, when you create these experiences by default or, by purpose, there is a, belief system that you are creating amongst your employees. They will only understand what they experience. So that experience is something that is under your control, not under the employee's control. They are actually just going through that journey. So have control on that experience. Be intentional about creating those experiences. That's very important, because that is shaping your employee perception, and that employee perception will get manifested externally and internally, because they will talk to their own network saying, hey, in this company nothing happens at speed. So that is so important. So I would say understand your culture, create experiences that bring people close to the culture, and live up to your promise, because that is going to create the employer brand perception, internal or external.
Sorry, while I said the last question, there's somebody who's messaged probably another question which is key. So a lot of times we focus a lot on our existing employees, but there are employees who are leaving us who are also our brand ambassadors, right? How do you manage your perception through these employees, or is there a way we can continue to leverage our brand experience through these employees? And I promise I'll shut up after this.
I am actually still connected with so many of our ex-employees, and we exchange notes, during different times. So I think that, no employee leaves a company forever, right? They are just going after something that is close to their heart. And for that reason, they are making, a switch, right? They will always experience the company the way they had experienced the company at the time of their tenure. And so I don't think you need to go after employees after they've left you. Because, to me, if I look back at my own journey, my reflections of my time in my previous companies is what I still cherish. It has not changed based on, the company sending me an email saying, hey, you were a great, employee. So I think that instead of focusing on ex-employees, focus on what you have control on, which is today, because that experience is going to remain in the hearts of your employees, whether they are with you or whether they are not with you. So I think you can create opportunities and reunions and alumnus connect and all the share outs, etc. But I think what will stay in the hearts of your employees forever is the experience that they are going through today, being part of the company.
Great. Thank you so much, Anshuman, for taking out time today. And it's really been an interesting conversation, not just theoretical or academic, but we've also got to learn from your experience, which was primarily the intent. Just for a few people who've not really heard about Hacking HR, please do visit our website. I'm putting that in the chat window, and there are a lot of learning platforms as well on the Hacking HR tab. So please do try and connect. We are a global community of professionals working in the space of HR and also technology startups. So, try and reach out, see if you could leverage, and we're looking forward to more such informative sessions. So, do be in touch. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for participating as well.
Thank you so much, Jayati, and team for giving me the opportunity. I am thrilled, to have had the opportunity, and I love the interactive nature of the conversation today. So thank you.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.